Hello, YouTube. How are you doing today? This is my cat, Anki. He says hello. And goodbye. If you're new to my channel, my name is Mariah, and I like to talk about all things esoteric and related to the goddess, specifically Sophianic mythology and Gnosticism. And today is going to be the same. So lately I've seen a lot of things. I have the camera like set up on like a cat tree, so we might be interrupted. Lately I've been seeing a lot of content that is very like doom and gloom about humanity and our origins and, you know, what we're up against and those kinds of things. So I just wanted to offer some alternative mythologies, some alternative theories on where we come from, our purpose, and what we're meant to do. Because I find that as a communal species, a storytelling species, we need that camaraderie together and a story that leads us in a direction that is beneficial for us and not just one that is, oh, you know, we're stuck here until we die and we're probably going back again to do the whole same thing and it's pointless, blah, 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 blah. You know, I'm just not vibing with that. And I think that people deserve to know that there is other stories available that can really guide you and that can really become alive with you when you engage with the story. So if you are not new to my channel, I'm sure you have seen my Sophianic mythology retelling. That is the story that I live by, that guides my life. And if you're looking for something similar, I would definitely recommend to check out those videos. I'm not going to go into it so much today of that exact storyline, but I wanted to just detail an alternative myth that is about our human prehistory. So, as is with all mythologies, take it with a grain of salt, take it as a story, but I find that this particular story and the way that it unfolds and unravels into the larger story of the Sophianic creation story is very powerful and is really resonating with myself, with other people that I share it with. And it's something that I don't really see anywhere. And obviously I found it somewhere. I found it through some of John Lamb Lash's work. And people have called me before like a John Lamb Lash light, like whatever. That's fine by me. I don't care, because I have had dreams about certain terminology, certain things that have happened in my life, and then later I will go on to read his work in whatever media it may be, and he will talk about that specifically. And I'm like, okay, if you are in sync with my dreams, like my lucid dreams, like there's something to that there. So of course, I always recommend checking out his work, and I will leave a link for his stuff. He does have a new edition of his book that is awesome. So definitely check that out. It's called Not in His Image. And I'm pretty sure this is in that book, and that's where I'm getting it from. But I've read stuff on his websites too, and it kind of just all gets gobbled up. But I know that it's from him. So, human prehistory. And this is like the little chunk that I skip over ferociously when I am retelling the Sophianic myth, because it's not that it doesn't matter, it's just that the Sophianic creation story is so meaty and like complex and juicy that you know, to kind of get it done in like half an hour, you have to skip over this part. So a little spiel in the beginning. So this is ancient Gnostic. This is where this comes from. So, as per the ancient Gnostics, there are creative beings that you can call gods and goddesses if you want. I don't really like that word because of the connotations that we have for it today. But they're creator beings, and they live in a physical location in the center of our galaxy. This is called the pleroma. If you are not new to Gnosticism, I'm sure you've heard pleroma, and per the mainstream Gnostic thought, it means the fullness. Now, where JLL takes his own little twist just based on his own findings, and he kind of combines it with Hindu mythology and stuff from other cultures as well, that this is the center of our Milky Way galaxy. And beyond this center, there is another realm, dimension, area, you can call it, and this is where the aeons exist. And they exist as giant torrential streams of energy, not unlike serpents, which is all the serpentine worship and stuff like that. I believe that has to do with the aeons. And what they do in male female pairs is they make creations, and they make creations together in this pair through sort of ecstatic mingling. It's been described as an ecstatic dance together, and the movement of their bodies and just the creativity of what they are. They create like nucleic packages, the real seeds of life, that science tells us. This is the origin point of those, is in the center of our galaxy. For our galaxy alone, I do believe that it's most likely true that every galaxy has its own pleromic access point, whether it's the same pleroma we're talking about with the same aeons or completely different. I don't know. However, for our own story, it is best to just stick to the Milky Way, our home, because we have a lot of anomalies going on our own, and for us to sort that out is going to help us move forward first before worrying about other galaxies. So for the purposes of our story and our existence, the two aeons that created us are our mother, Sophia was the female aspect, and then the male aspect has been called Christos, has been called Thelete, has been called other names, and it's just more important to know that there is a male aspect and a female aspect that go into these creations. So to sum it up really quickly, in what's relevant to our side of the story, Sophia and Thelete, I like to use the name Thelete for the male counterpart, created the humans in their imagination and their ecstatic creation as a being to enjoy their other creations. And we more or less were the designer species to really enjoy everything, and we were given genius potential and access to not all the things, but pretty much all of the things that the gods can do. We can or aeons, we can create, we can enjoy, we can be together, and and we were created for this purpose, to really interact with everything else in a way that is malleable and beautiful and expansive. But they overdosed us on that genius potential, and in this myth specifically, there were 9 versions of humans called anthropos that just didn't make it, that just were not, this one thing led to another, and we would just kill ourselves or explode where we were or whatever, and I say that, and I'm sure you can think that, oh, that's not far off from where we're headed now, so it's not really out of the question that would happen. So Sophia being the mother of us, and it's described that she's a relatively young and kind of vivacious being, aeon, she was contemplating a solution for how her humanity, her beloved luminous child, could really thrive and could really take off and live to our full potential that we were designed for. and just by nature of her being an aeon and having that creative potential on her own, she did this imagining without her male partner. And that is the, kind of the first anomaly, or the first, I don't want to say mistake, but maybe mistake is the best word. And just by nature of her being creative, this caused her imaginative body, you could also call it a dream body, when we're daydreaming for solutions, this is the same thing. She was daydreaming for a solution for humanity, but because of her creative abilities, this shot a part of her out, her dream body out of the pleroma and into the canoma, which is our reality, the Milky Way, and sent her in like a freaking rocket, a plume of light, the comet Venus, like all this electric universe theory kind of ties in here. And she started to fall into her own experiment without her male counterpart. And this alone caused Sophia to have this like offshoot of a distorted, demented male presence to come from her body as she was falling through space. Now, this is something that JLL mentions himself, and it is very interesting, and you can look it up yourself, but it is a real thing that crystalline electricity, in a sense, can produce bugs out of nowhere. And this is essentially what happened. Sophia's presence was electric, and it created the demiurge, or we all know him as Yahweh or Jehovah, the Bible or Old Testament God, the tribal god of the ancient Hebrews. This is all the same being, and he originally came about as a mistake, as an anomaly, because of Sophia's audacity to think of a solution on her own for humanity. So this is the setup. This is the setup for the story that I'm going to say. So that's what I mean. I usually skip over this next part because it is so, like, bad enough is a lot, So she is falling through space and having accidentally made this abomination that is described as an aborted fetus, and she tried to get rid of him and just go, oh, okay, you stay over here, I'm gonna do my thing, I'm busy, leave me alone. Of course, he does not leave her alone. Sorry, my cat is like going crazy. I skipped a big part where he was digging a china in the litter. Anyway, so what is happening is that Sophia is falling through space still. The demiurge has been created and was sent off to his own place. He thinks he's the only one that exists because he wakes up alone, and he is blind. And as soon as he says, I'm the only one here, there's nobody else but me, this is the part of the Bible that is left out. But as soon as he says that, Sophia appears before him and says, no, like, I'm here, obviously, hello, So that is all happening. She is tumbling through space still. And because the demiurge has been created and from Sophia, he has a little bit of creative power of his own, not enough to flourish or to make anything really worthwhile, but enough to create like a carousel, or like something mechanical that can kind of move and do things, but it doesn't interact. It doesn't really have life. And in the Nag Hammadi codices, it says they cannot give blessings, only curses. Like they don't have the power to really move life forward. So, but he still has some creative abilities. So what happens is he knows that Sophia is existing, and it creates his own like worker bees. These are called the archons. You may know them as the gray alien entities. You may know them as demons. Sorry, he's being a demon. And what they try to do is throw Sophia off her course to try to mess her up. And what this does is, because she's barreling through space, and sorry, I forgot to mention this. I have a little bit of cat allergies. My nose, so does she. She's holding on to the human genome at the same time, because that is her intention, is to create a solution for humanity. So she's holding on to the genome as she's falling this whole time, because it was like, it's kind of part and parcel that this solution for humanity would come from her. And so she just kind of fell in with everything. So as she's falling, she's getting knocked off her course by her deadbeat son and his gang of losers. And she gets hit a couple times. And what happens is, this human genome that was designed androgynous, or at least together, to have the male and female together, was sheared, split in half. And this happened around the Orion constellation. And so she had ended up depositing the male aspect of the human genome in the Orion constellation. So what this means is that this is where men are from. in the sense of this version of humanity. And if you've never heard that before, I know it can sound really wacky, but start to look around for Orion worship, Osiris worship, and you'll find it's really, really male dominated and is pretty prevalent still today. Oh, he's going crazy. So hey, knock it off. And this is the part of the story that I would love to get more insight on, because I just think it is so interesting and delicious. However, it does make me really ungrounded whenever I get too far into this kind of stuff. But the male part of the genome was left in Orion to gestate on its own, and these little nucleic packets that the aeons make, they get sent on these filaments through space. And we know that these filaments exist. They're like torrents of energy, and they go where life is. And so this male genome would have been sent on one of those, and it would have just been picked up on a place that could support life. Now, it would not have looked like life on Earth. And what happened was they had life in some form that was not physical, like as dense as we are now. They had life, they had personalities, but it was like they were plasmic in a sense, like kind of see-through, and they eventually became this species of shaman hunters. And I'm gonna pause there for 1 second, because I'm like, so that is happening. Orion males are happening, but they have like these like plasmic bodies, okay? While Sophia is still falling, and eventually she finds her place by compelling the sun and compelling the moon to support her life, and she turns her imaginative body that has fallen into the earth. Okay, so her body that fell from the pleroma, from the galactic core, that was her creative, imaginative self, turned into our home and our setting here on Earth, carrying the female genome. Okay, so she is developing as a planet with the female genome still attached to her, which is why mermaids are a thing. This is why tree nymphs are a thing. This is why it has been said that the original people were female, Amazonian women. All of those myths, they like, sure, if you want to think they come from nowhere, fine, go ahead. Then this is just a nice story, you know? And, you know, maybe it is just a really nice story. But I know for a fact that in the womb for the first 2 months, you're female, no matter what you come out as. And that's science, baby. So these women, these Gaian women, are here living their life. They are a dreaming species as they came up concurrent with Gaia, and they would dream new creations in partnership with Gaia. And this is why we still have that ability to dream with her, aka the law of attraction. It is a really slow, lucid dream that we experience, and we call it waking life. So this is ancient history. It would have been so like much faster, so much more intuitive if it was all that we knew. And these Gaian women who grew with Earth, who became a part of Earth as any other animal, they just kept making creations and animals and having fun and dreaming and playing and being in beauty and, you know, all of those fabulous things. And because they created so many beings, this subconsciously caught the attention of the Orion males, who, unbeknownst to them, had subconsciously been searching for their female path this whole time. So because they were hunter shamans, they were, back in Orion, trained to travel. And we do this now with remote viewing. We do it now with, I don't want to say astral travel so much, because I don't really believe that your whole body goes there, but I think that it could, you know, with all the yogis and all that, those kinds of miracles, you know, by location, like that really happens, you know, and it happens recently, it happens now, and we just don't understand it. So if we had a really pure access to that connection, I think it would be easy. So this is what these Orion males did in their quest for a hunt, in their shamanic travels. They had descended here through space on these same filaments that exist as pathways for creations. They would hitch a ride on them, essentially, and would descend into the atmosphere on these same threads. And there's texts of these that they would appear as rolling clouds, that they were like nebula bodies. And you see that? It'd be nice. And so they weren't in human bodies, but they were coming here to hunt, and they found these Gaian women, and they were just like, whoa, like what the heck are these creatures, you know? And so eventually they came to some agreement where the Gaian women would let them hunt their species to a certain extent, you know, and they didn't see anything wrong with it. They were like, okay, well, we'll just create more, you know, this is what we do. And if this is what you really want, then just do it, but be level-headed and don't overdo it. Of course, you know, they overdo it. And this is where, you know, kingship rituals have their beginning, and sacred marriage, and and this is why, you know, in the Bible and stuff, it says kingship descended from heaven. Not exactly. If you're reading it another way, you can say that these males on their threads descended from the sky. Doesn't necessarily mean they were royal lines. They had to be initiated into Gaia's magic to be here in the first place. And what this means is that they would have to become embodied. And this is where the Osirian ritual really comes into play here. And if you haven't heard that before, I'll just say it really quickly. So basically, ancient Egypt, Osiris was caught by his brother Set, was cut up into many little pieces, and then Isis, his wife, had to assemble him back together, impregnated herself with his golden schlong, and gave birth to Osiris, reborn as Horus. Okay, so the really important part there to remember in that myth, as well as this myth, is that for the men to be here, they had to come through the body of a Gaian woman. And, in my opinion, they had to be a woman for the first 2 months of being in the womb. And then they would start to take on male characteristics. And you know, that's what happens today. Everybody who is a dude was a female for 2 months. And then, you know, everything happens, chromosomes change, whatever. So, this is where the tree hung shaman stuff comes in. That is, JLL talks about that a lot. This is where the myths of Odin come in, where he, you know, is hung on a tree, and then he is he's at the well of memory, and he receives this universal language of the runes. He receives wisdom. He becomes the wisest guy around, and he had to first die on a tree and then be, well, more or less die and then be reborn through memory. And this, as well as the Osirian ritual, that gets brought up so much now. I don't know, I see it in every freaking movie and everything media related, because it's all run by the Freemasons, and they love this ritual because this is, they honor Orion as their origin. And they know that you have to be disassembled completely. You basically have to lose your mind. And when you lose your mind and you're in a dark place and you don't know what's going on, that is when the goddess or Isis or Sophia or Gaia will find you, put you back together, and rebirth you herself. Now, this doesn't necessarily today need to be physically coming through the body of a woman, although it can, but it does mean that you need to know the goddess for her to really set you up for success here, you know. And this is why I think so many people, especially men, are just like walking around with their heads cut off, is because they are looking for their origin in a place that is not their origin. So they need to be attuned to where they are now, which is the earth, which is the body of Gaia, which is the dream body of Sophia. And then once you know that, and she organizes you sweetly. I love that. That's in like one of the Psalms, I think, of wisdom, organizing everything sweetly and in a way that is just like, oh, you know, that makes more sense than what I thought. And that's wisdom. That's Sophia. That is her signature, is when you finally let everything go, things fall into place in a way that you would have not anticipated nor been able to do without her, without that magic of knowing that we are in the dream body of the goddess who created us. And it is very important to know that she is a goddess, a female creator, because of the whole prehistory of the separation of the sexes. And I really do think that those archetypes of shaman hunters from Orion as males and women as these Gaian women who are dreamers, I think that if we really understood that as a society today, we would be able to come together a lot better in a way that is sane and moves us forward, because there's so much speculation because we just don't know, and there is so much confusion as to who we really are and where we really come from, especially because that darn demiurge, it has just been like sending little deception whispers into our mind that he created us, that the archons created us, that they had any capability whatsoever to create us, which is just garbage, baloney, nonsense. There is no way that the aborted fetus son of the goddess who created us. Like, he's just a liar. He's just a liar. Like, that's just what he does, is he says, oh, I created you. You're my slave. You were born in sin and you have to die. And here is my son on a cross dead, because that's what you should be, dead. Like, come on. Biggest eye roll of the century. AI does not rule us. We are not in these meat suits to just be here feeding some slave machine. Like, no. No. And the idea of the Matrix just thinking that we're not actually living in this space, that just takes away everything from what we do and the reality that we exist in, that everything is really meaningful. And yes, we can still be in a dream, but if the dream is our entire life, then it's not just a random simulation or hologram. It is meaningful, it is powerful, and it requires our attention, and it requires our participation. And I think this is the biggest thing, is that the demiurge, the globalists that want us to just believe in AI and allow it to take over our lives, they want us to think that we have no agency, that we have no ability to change our circumstance, to live a better life. And in reality, it is so simple, because as soon as we sign on with the goddess and learn the story of Gaia-sophia and learn that we were created intentionally in beauty, in love, in care, it's like all of the archontic creations, like government, like bureaucracy, like things that just don't really matter at the end of the day, they just don't really touch you. It's like you can see stuff on the news and you see blah, blah, explosion, fire, blah, blah, blah. Like, of course, I feel for the people that is happening to. But if the news is showing me something, I know that it's being done in a way to manipulate my feelings. So if you just don't tune in and you keep your feelings aimed towards the earth, towards your body, towards your happiness and your own joy, it's like that's when magic happens. That's when nature and supernature can take over. And that is when wisdom, the wisdom goddess, takes the reins and is able to just, I don't know, I've had stuff in my life, literally, I've been so worried about, and then I will just be like, no, this is yours, Sophia. And then that thing will just get like deleted out of my life. Like, I've had some really weird instances like that. And then that's when I'm like, oh, we are in a dream. We're in a lucid dream that is our reality, which makes it meaningful and powerful. And it's because we're in the lucid dream of the goddess, who is beyond our scale in such a way that there's a delay for us. You have to think in the scale is between you and an ant, and you take, a day or like a day trip or whatever, to that ant, it's like, you know, a quarter of its life or something like that, you know? So the time is different, which is why in our reality, the lucid dream of the goddess, when we're interacting with her, when we are engaging her, when we are creating with her, manifestation, it's not instant like it is in our own lucid dreams that we experience at night. That is instant. And then it's slowed down in reality because we are members of the lucid dream of the goddess. And that's something I'm going to talk about more, the dream aspect of it, because I think it is just so delicious and so amazing. And I've had dreams where, it's funny, it's a little bit of an aside, but I've had dreams where I'm like being attacked or running away from like, I don't know who they are, but, and they're like after me and some people. And then literally I'll like take like an energy ball and I'll be like, in the name of the wisdom goddess. And then they're like, poof, like done, like it's over. And I always remember it like at the last minute, I'm like freaking out. I'm like, like, how do we get rid of these guys? How do we, whatever? And then I just, somehow in my dream, I remember, boom, in the name of the wisdom goddess. And then they're just done. You're just done, buddy. So play with that yourself. Play with that intention of, if you're in a lucid dream and you can say in the name of the wisdom goddess, see what happens. Engage with it. And this is what I always recommend to people is, if you think I'm talking out of my ass, like that's fine, great, try something. And anytime I've had people, because I always suggest that if you are saying, oh, thank you universe, or thank you source, or thank you whatever, just replace it with Gaia, replace it with gaia-sophia, and see what happens. And she will drop you like little love notes all day. She'll like, you'll see her name over here, you'll see something else over here, she'll send you money, she'll send you whatever, like just start to engage. And as soon as you start to engage, this is when she reveals her story to you in a meaningful way to you, that is synchronistic, that is really going to stick with you in a way maybe that didn't before you invited her to expand your life. And you know, that's what this is really all about, is that when we know the story of the goddess, which is why I share it all the time, when we know her story, she can engage with us. It's a two-way street. It takes two to tango, baby. And I had the pleasure of having a call with Mr. John Lamb Lash not that long ago, and he said the words truer than anybody else could. We reach you so she can teach you. And that's all I'm doing here. I'm just trying to reach you. And if this reaches you at all, I just really invite Gaia-sophia to come in and teach you in a way that is meaningful, that moves your life forward, where you just really feel that you can rely on that mother presence in your life, because I know a lot of us are missing that. And it is so beautiful to be able to count on a presence that not only fully has your awareness, but knows you inside and out, can access you at all times, in all ways, in your dreams, in your waking life, in all sorts of ways. And this is magic. This is synchronicity. This is the supernatural. And I would just love for all of you to know that you were created in love. You were created in care, in beauty. Beauty, 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 above all else. Beauty. Beauty is the most important thing we have. It is care in physical form. It is love in physical form. And I am wishing you a beautiful day and a lovely week. And as JLL always says, I will see you in the beauty to come.